Ladies and lads, welcome back to the Pylon Cam. In this video, we're going to be talking about which teams will be playing in January and division standings for the 2021 year. So let's get into it. So for the first division, we're going to talk through the AFC North and my predictions for the AFC North. So I think I have the Browns winning this division, going 13-4. My argument for why the Browns would win this division is because the Browns have the most complete roster in football. And it's actually really funny that PFF just released today their underrated roster. And what that means is they took the most, quote, underrated players in all of the NFL and put them on a roster. And at quarterback, they had Baker Mayfield. And I just think it's funny because what is underrated about Baker Mayfield? One, the kid is one of the least important pieces on the offense. Two, he has the best offense around him. And three, he won a Heisman and he was drafted number 1 overall. So what am I missing here about Baker Mayfield being underrated? I think the kid has more than enough recognition. He gets talked about enough. He's in every commercial, on every commercial break. There's nothing underrated about Baker Mayfield. But anyways, the Browns have the best roster in football, and their only weakness, if you've been following the Pylon Camp podcast, I have said this enough, it is Baker Mayfield. If they're going to lose games, it's going to be because of Baker Mayfield. But I still think that Baltimore is the most dynamic offense in this division. This division is growing more and more top-heavy with the decline of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that the Ravens are still an elite superpower in this division, and I think that if they could start to adapt and address the passing game and evolve in that aspect, I think they're going to be very hard to stop, because what a lot of teams do against the Ravens is they stack the box and they expect the run, whether they think it's coming from J.K. Dobbins, who is injured and will no longer be playing this season, or Gus Edwards or Lamar Jackson. They're ready to stop the run because the Ravens haven't had the pieces to flourish in the passing game. And I don't think that's any fault to Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is a very prolific passer, so no knock against him. I just really do think he hasn't had any of the weapons to shine in the passing game. He did win MVP in his second year, I think leading the league in passing touchdowns. And then the Steelers definitely have the best coach in the division, and Kevin Stefanski is making a case to be the best coach in the division, but right now I would still say it's Mike Tomlin, and I don't think Mike Tomlin will let this team have a losing record, because I think that Big Ben still has a year left in him. They have more than enough weapons on offense. They're not going to need him to throw the ball 30-plus times a game now that they have Najee Harris, who they selected in the first round. And then there's the the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals are in the middle of a thick rebuild. I don't see them winning anytime soon. I think that their offense is going to be really cool and really flashy and a lot of fun to watch, but I don't think their defense is good enough to win games. I don't think that their defense... I don't think their offense is going to be good enough to win games either. I think that Jamar Chase was a very irresponsible draft choice. You had Rashawn Slater sitting right there, who is a plug-and-play tackler guard. He was the best prospect at both positions. And you have Joe Burrow coming off a monster knee injury, ACL, MCL, the whole nine. I just think it was really irresponsible to go out and get Jamar Chase. And I think that people kind of need to cool off with the Jamar Chase bust hype. I think that's getting kind of out of hand. The kid is just nervous. He hasn't played football in 2 years. And I think he'll bounce back. Whether he bounces back in week 1 or week 3, I think he's going to be fine. I think it's just a matter of when he settles into the offense. Going to the next division, I have the AFC East. I think this division has become one of the most competitive divisions in all of football and all of the NFL, except for the Jets. And the Jets are definitely trending in the right direction. I think they're putting the pieces together, but this idea that the Jets are going to come and make some noise and Zach Wilson is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's just nonsense to me. I just think that you could break these teams down into 3 categories, not just the AFC East. I mean, teams in general. You're either an elite team, a defensive team, a shootout team, or trash. And when I was looking at the Jets, they're if they're not trash, they're in that shootout category because their defense isn't that good either. But they don't have the ammunition to win shootouts, is the problem. Corey Davis has never been an alpha one wide receiver. He's never been a receiver who's had over 1,000 yards. He's never had over 5 touchdowns in a season. You take all these things into account, and this is when he was playing next to A.J. Brown. This is when he was playing with Marcus Mariota as a 1. He never got over 1,000 yards, and now you expect me to believe that Corey Davis is going to be this number 1 for Zach Wilson, who is going to be a reliable receiver. I'm not buying it. He has to play against Xavier Howard, Stephon Gilmore, and all these other cornerbacks that have brilliant defensive-minded coaches, and Tre'Davious White, who I forgot to mention. The Jets are going to struggle in the passing game within the division. The division is too well-rounded defensively for them to have over 2. I think you could expect the Jets to get swept by every division rival. I don't think the Jets are there yet. They're trending in the right direction. But to get off of the Jets, I think the Bills are definitely still the team to beat in this division. And even though Sean McDermott is a great coach, Bill Belichick was still the best coach in football, and that's not even arguable. It's not close. And just because he had an off year last year, had to deal with Tom Brady leaving and had to kind of assess himself. I think that where the Patriots were last season, for all my Star Wars fans out there, they were at the end of A New Hope, and the Death Star just exploded. But now, fast forward to episode 5, they have the Death Star 2.0, and the Empire's about to strike back. Not to get too nerdy, but I think that the Patriots, with Mac Jones, I think getting rid of Cam Newton was wise in the sense of that it kind of just speeds up the process. Everybody knew Mac Jones was going to come in at some point or another. So Patriots defense is amazing. They fixed their run stopping issue. They drafted Christian Barmore, and they look great. They look great. The Dolphins also look great. I have more confidence though in Mac Jones than I do Tua. I think Tua is trending in the right direction, but I think that the knock on Mac Jones was his ceiling's too low. But for the Patriots, who are a team that can be coached into winning now, you just want the quarterback who's going to go out there and get the job done, and you know what to expect from him. He's going to go out there, he's going to go through his reads, he's going to complete the right pass and be efficient and make the right play. He may not be able to do it with his legs, like Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, but he's a good passer. And the Patriots, they do need a good wide receiver 1. Jacoby Myers looks great. But, Michael Thomas could be on the market, and I could see the Patriots going and making a move for Michael Thomas if Marquez Callaway looks good enough. So keep an eye on that. And then Miami Dolphins, they're basically the same spot as the Patriots. Great defenses, great coaches. Just need to see what's there at quarterback and see how this offense gels together. But to go to the AFC South, I have the Colts winning the division. I think the Colts are the most well-balanced roster in the division. I guess I see them, if Carson Wentz plays the whole year, he's already dealing with a foot injury, which he's bounced back from, but now he's dealing with COVID. I think that they have the most well-balanced roster in the division, and Phillip Rivers was able to take them to the playoffs. I think Carson Wentz, being that he's back with Frank Reich, could really have a shot at reviving his career. But I do think this is a division race between two teams, and that's the Titans and the Colts. I think if the Titans have fixed their issue at pass rusher and could get to the quarterback and sustain the offense that they run, and their defense could just kind of keep up, I think the Titans team could easily win the division over the Colts. But I think the Colts have the better defense, and I'm a person who's more in favor of the team with a better defense and a better offense, because everybody knows who's played football or any sport, it's easier to stop someone from scoring than to score. So I'm always going to be in favor of the defensive-minded team. I think the Jaguars are definitely going to be a superpower in this division sooner rather than later, but I'm going to say they'll be in the playoffs they'll be winning this division in about 3 years, I think. I think if you include this season, give them another offseason, and then one more, they're going to be really good. Trevor Lawrence will develop. Travis Etienne doesn't have a catastrophic injury, thank God. And James Robinson is great. They have great receivers, young wide receivers. They've completely restructured the offensive line, and that's going to need time to grow. It's all a very young offensive line. And then to go to the Texans are just, I have no idea what's going to happen to them. I have them going 0-17. I just think that they're nowhere near anything. I really don't. I think that DeAndre Hopkins trade kind of destroyed them, and then Deshaun Watson being in legal trouble and not playing, I think he's done. I think he's done with the Texans, and the Texans are going to be. They're not going to get the king's ransom they want for Deshaun. They're going to wait. Teams are going to wait for him to either go into free agency or see what happens with his legal situation. So I expect the Texans to be really bad for a really long time. But then to go over to the AFC West, I think this is becoming the most competitive division in football very quickly. I really like the Chargers this season, and I really like the Broncos this season. If you've been following the podcast, you know that, and you know how I feel about the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that the Chiefs are still the team to beat, and I have them going 13-4. I just think that they do too many things right, and they have such little weaknesses. Their biggest weakness is their red zone defense. They really, really need to let teams kick field goals rather than get 7 points on them, because in competitive, close games, that's going to be their downfall. But I think the Chargers are going to take a huge step this season. They lost, I think, the most one-score games of any team in the NFL last season with the 32nd ranked offensive line, according to PFF. So I really do think that the Chargers are going to be a superpower this year. I think that all the hype around Justin Herbert is true, and I think everybody saying that he hasn't proved anything yet is kind of dumb. I mean, the kid statistically is the best rookie quarterback to ever play football, and he did it behind a 32nd ranked offensive line. The Denver Broncos are also very competitive. They have I think their floor for their defense is 9. I think they have a top 10 defense. However it pans out, the reason why Patrick Surtain was such a good pick, in my opinion, was because he didn't have to come in and be the number one cornerback. Even though he had reps against Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, all of them, he's been playing top-tier NFL caliber wide receivers in college, and now he has to come into Denver and be the cornerback 3. So he doesn't even have to pick up the best man on the field. So their defense, their secondary is going to be so good. It's really going to come down to how is Teddy Bridgewater going to elevate this team. I think he's better than Drew Lock in the sense that he's not as erratic, and you kind of can expect it's easier to game plan with Teddy Bridgewater in the game than Drew Lock, because Drew Lock has so much inconsistency. And then the Raiders are just a disaster. They gutted their offensive line. Derek Carr actually is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL if you look at his numbers. But they paid Kenyon Drake. It just seems like they put all their money in the wrong spots. That's my biggest gripe with the Raiders. It just felt like they were doing everything wrong. So who knows what they expect with them. I think their ceiling is actually 5 wins. I think that Bryan Edwards could be very good, and Henry Ruggs could actually be very good. All the reports are pointing that way. But who knows how Derek Carr is and Josh Jacobs are going to operate behind a bad offensive line. So that's going to wrap up the division outlooks. I think, in the AFC, it's pretty clear-cut who's good and who's bad. I think most of the divisions are pretty top-heavy, except for the AFC East and the AFC West. I think those two are the closest. Both divisions have 3 really good teams and 1 decent team or horrible team. So let's look at the playoff picture. I think, being that I have 3 13-4 teams in 3 different divisions, I think that you could cut it anyway for the 1 through 3 seed. I think the Chiefs are still the best team in football. I think the Browns have the best roster in football. And if Josh Allen could sustain what he did last season, they could go 13-4 as well. And then the Colts coming in at 11-6. I think they're also a very good team. I think the real question mark is Carson Wentz. I think that Jonathan Taylor has emerged as a superstar, and that they desperately need a perimeter weapon. I think Paris Campbell is someone who's going to flash a lot this season, being that he's working out of the slot. Michael Pittman is expected to have a huge workload. And you have the Baltimore Ravens, who I don't care what anybody says, that the people are saying, oh, the book's out on the Ravens. That doesn't mean anything. You still have to stop them, and that's not easy. Even if you know what to expect, it's not easy to stop that. Lamar Jackson was the MVP for a reason. If now he has the weapons to throw the ball with Tylan Wallace and Rashad Bateman, who will be back at the end of September, and then you have Mark Andrews, who they just signed to an extension, there's no reason why the Ravens can't win the AFC North. And then you put the Browns in that 5-seed spot. I have the Chargers coming in as a 6 seed just because the Chiefs are going to win that division, but the Chargers are going to give them a run for their money. I think it's going to be very close. And then you still have to worry about the Denver games. I think if any of these games are going to flip for these two teams within the division, it's going to be against Denver because of how good Denver's defense is. I just really don't have a lot of confidence in Teddy Bridgewater to keep up pace offensively in any of those contests. Then you have the Patriots. The Patriots have the defense to win the division, in my opinion. I don't think they will. I think they're still pretty far behind the Bills. But if any coach is going to win them the division, is going to out-coach anybody else, it's going to be Bill Belichick. And I think that Bill Belichick has the players in place to win this division. But that's going to do it for me. Come back for the NFC predictions for tomorrow. I'm trying to get these out before Thursday. If you've been following the Pylon Camp podcast, we are fully invested in now trying to get out these smaller content videos and news breakdown videos for you guys. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Those are in the corner right there. But come back tomorrow for the NFC divisional breakdown, and if you like what you heard, or if you disagree with what you heard, please comment below because I'm open to learning and hearing someone else's opinion on this stuff. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.